So, do you remember when Christian Pulisic, the star of the United States men's national team, Captain America is his nickname, did the Trump dance? And it was this man saying, "I'll be your Huckleberry." It's Tim Howard, one of the best players in the history of the international team. First off, in case you've been living under a rock, when asked if it was a political statement, Pulisic said, "No, not at all. It's not a political dance. Come on, don't be stupid." And Howard was like, "Really?" In his piece, Howard wrote, "Here's my personal view. Doing a dance that mimics Donald Trump is stupid because whether it's the president of the U.S. or my neighbor down the street, I would never back someone who I believe is racist."
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Stephen A. Smith, who I believe is trying to redeem himself by making some sense after making the nonsensical decision to openly support Kamala Harris over President-elect Trump before the election. Because Stephen A. is coming out and now trashing people who did support Kamala Harris, but for a fee.
See that? You see it? Yes, she was trying to get people to go out to the polls, but we know who she wanted us to go to the polls to support. That was a scare tactic. Let's call it what it is. It was a scare tactic. We're suddenly going to be deprived of our right to vote if Donald Trump gets into office instead of this candidate. No problem. Sounds like a very fervent, passionate argument in favor of Kamala Harris. Then what the hell you need $2.5 million for your production company when you're worth billions? Take your time, I'll wait. You see, bullshit is bullshit. I'm not in any way questioning the contributions that Oprah Winfrey has made to the black community, to black people, to our society as a whole. She is the epitome of the American dream. She is marvelous. The problem was she tried to convince us somebody else was marvelous without taking into consideration how her actions would look once we got a hold of this information, which now brings into question, how marvelous did you really think Kamala Harris was? That's why people have a problem trusting not just politicians, but celebrities who come out in the open to support them. Had you're Oprah, you're worth billions. It's a horrible look for you to take a penny for you or your production company if you really supported her.
Yeah, so I hope that Stephen A. Smith has the same smoke for his dear friend Roland Martin, who took a fat fee, $350,000, which low-key was kind of pennies compared to what Kamala Harris paid to her other friends. But Roland Martin, as a so-called journalist, took $350,000 to run quote-unquote ads on his media company, aka his YouTube channel that's just him, really, let's be honest. And then did a softball interview with Kamala Harris, right? I would love to hear Stephen A. Smith's take on whether or not Roland Martin's excuse for doing that as a so-called journalist is justified, right? Stephen A., would you take $350,000 and then turn around and interview Kamala Harris, ask her softball questions? Do you think that is journalism, right? Do you think that maybe, just maybe, that may present some type of conflict of interest? Do you think that's okay? I would love to see you confront Roland Martin about this, Stephen A. I think you should, because if you're going to call out Oprah, you might as well call out Al Sharpton, who also did the same thing, and Roland Martin. I want to see it, Stephen A. I really do. Okay. So with that being said, Stephen A. is calling out the NFL for speaking out about the Trump dance, right? The Trump dance is the wave now, right? It's the culture. Everybody is doing it. Okay. If you're one of the cool kids, yeah, you're doing the Trump dance. And if you're one of the lame kids, if you're one of the Democrats and the liberals, the salty kids, then you're not doing it, right? You're boohoo, whine, and cry, hate, and bigotry, right? You're upset, right? You hating from outside the club because you can't even get in, okay? That's what's happening. You have white people doing it, black people doing it, Asian people doing it. It's a worldwide thing, right? It's a worldwide phenomenon, right? Kind of like the dab, right? You guys remember the dab when Cam Newton was doing the dab back in the day, right? That was like the thing, right? This is like that, okay? The Trump dance is like the new thing that everybody is doing, okay? And the NFL decided to speak on this for whatever reason, even though there really is no reason for them to speak on it. And Stephen A has an issue with it. And I want to react to it because I think Stephen A is making some interesting points here in his attempt to redeem himself and his reputation after, again, openly supporting Kamala Harris. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. The NFL says they have no issue with players doing the signature dance of President-elect Donald Trump during their on-field celebrations. Players like Nick Bosa from the Niners, Raiders tight end Brock Bowers, and Titans receiver Calvin Ridley are just a few of the players that have mocked the president-elect's signature moves.
Now, I'm not sure why Stephen A used the word mock, right? Mock is not the right word that I would have used. Maybe copy, use, right? I'm not sure if mock is the right word that I would have used there. I think Stephen A is a little confused.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, in case you haven't seen Donald Trump's signature move, even though he's the one doing it right there, right now, at UFC 309 at Madison Square Garden this past weekend, one of, if not the greatest MMA fighter in history, John Bones Jones, did it after defeating Stipe Miocic in the third round there with Trump sitting ringside. You saw it right there. Let me tell you something. Here's why I'm pissed off that the NFL had to even issue a statement about it. Because celebrations usually don't warrant that. It doesn't require a response from the league. So why was it necessary this time? You know why? Because we got a bunch of people still living with their heads in the cloud, acting like they get to protest every little damn thing. This is America. Donald Trump won the election, rather convincingly, I might add. Now, I didn't vote for him, and I've been on the record stating that. I'm not backing up from that. I didn't vote for him because I don't think he's presidential. I don't think his behavior, rather, is presidential. I think the presidency is a statesmanship position. I think it's important to galvanize folks and to bring them together as opposed to contributing to divisiveness. But he won.
Yeah, so again, this is why I can't respect Stephen A. Smith, right? Even when he makes some sense, it's like Charles Barkley. People like him, Bill Barr, they just make me upset, right? They just make me angry. Because it's like sometimes you make sense and then sometimes you're just completely 100% off base and delusional. This man says, well, I didn't vote for Trump because he's not a statesman and, you know, I don't think he's presidential and he doesn't bring people together and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, first and foremost, Kamala Harris does not have any of those attributes, right? She is very divisive. She is not a good stateswoman. She is not presidential. And she belongs nowhere near the Oval Office. Okay, let's keep it all the way 100. So I don't know how the hell Stephen A. rationalized voting for Kamala Harris if those are his standards. But let's keep it all the way 100 though, Stephen A. If you voted for Trump, it's not like you have the huevos to come out and tell the world that you did. Because you can't. Because you lose your job. You get fired. Okay, because as a so-called black man working for Disney, right, working for the media, okay, taking a salary, you can't come out here and openly support Trump. Let's keep it all the way 100, Stephen A. You can't openly support Trump even if you wanted to. So I'm just saying, right? You coming out here and talking about how you supported Kamala, you really should be embarrassed. That's not something I would continue to say if you want to have some type of credibility, especially in politics, which is something that Stephen A. is trying his best to get in, even though I think he's in over his skis, clearly.
And I have no problem accepting the fact that he won fair and square in romp-like fashion, I might add. And he's worthy of being the president of the United States according to the voters. They have spoken. They spoke emphatically, not just in red states, but in blue states as well, in battleground states as well. He won. There's no debate. There's no controversy. There's no anything. He won convincingly. So to me, that says that the American people have made their choice. I got news for you. Football players are usually American people. So are basketball players. So are UFC fighters. They got a right to support who the hell they want without the league needing to send in a response. I didn't see a response from the UFC. You know why? Because Dana White wouldn't entertain it. Dana White would not entertain that because he don't play that nonsense. He's going to support who he's going to support. He's not going to apologize for it, as most American citizens should feel free to do. And why am I ticked off? Because it was emblematic of the climate that we've been living in for years now, which is why I believe Donald Trump was really elected. Yeah, it was inflation. That was an issue. The economy, that was an issue. The border, that was an issue. But woke culture, cancel culture, oh, hell yes, that played a role. Where you got people walking around wondering whether or not they're echoing the right pronoun.
He definitely wanted to say something else. That is what I initially thought, right? But he definitely was thinking something else. He wanted to say something else, okay? He definitely had to lighten that up in terms of what he actually wanted to say.
Wondering whether or not that was going to cost them their job. Or being PC because, God forbid, your opinion is different than the average folk walking around in America. Lord knows what would happen to you. That's what America regressed to. And because of that, I believe, is a big reason why Donald Trump on January 20th will be inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States of America. I'll continue with that opinion in just a second, but I wanted to move.
Yeah, so I agree with Stephen A. overall in regards to how the NFL did not need to issue a statement about the NFL players doing the Trump dance, right? As if, again, they should have some say, or as if they need to issue some type of statement on it like it's controversial. Like, it's not controversial. It's a dance. It's a celebration. And any other celebration, they would not be issuing a statement. So why even issue a statement when it comes to this, right? Again, I don't disagree with the NFL in regards to them saying we don't have a problem with it, but I don't think it was necessary for them to say they don't have a problem with it, because coming out and saying that you don't have a problem with it is essentially an acknowledgement of the mob that is boohoo whining and crying about it, right? And at this point, we need to stop giving these people credibility by acknowledging that what they have to say holds any weight, right? That anybody's even listening to what they have to say. Let's keep it 100. If the NFL doesn't say anything at all, it's almost as if those people don't exist. You're such a small minority that the NFL, it's not even worth them acknowledging you. But when the NFL has to acknowledge that, okay, this is a controversy, let's come out here and give an official statement on it. Basically what they're saying is that, yeah, we hear you. We hear you. You're in our ear. We thought about it, right? We had to actually sit here and think about, do we want to condemn this? Do we want to stand behind this? What do we want to do here? There's no reason to even have that conversation, because these players should be allowed to do the Trump dance. It's not a political statement. It's not even politics. It's just them celebrating. They're doing the dance that the president was doing, right? Nothing wrong with that whatsoever, okay? If the NFL was smart, they'd embrace it. But you have some television networks actually censoring the dance, right? They're cutting it out of the replay, the highlights, right? They're cutting the dance out, which is shameful. But again, if they could read the room, right, aka read the country, they'd be smart to embrace it. Yeah, they stay out of politics, but what I'm saying is that they would embrace the dance, right? They would embrace players who, are celebrating in that way, right, in which the American people just voted for Trump to be president of the United States, right? They don't have to be overtly political, but we have seen the NFL be political, right? We've seen them overtly embrace BLM. They still got the whole no racism thing, right? Fight against racism. What do you say? Stop racism. They still got that in the end zone. Crazy. Nonsense. So, I think Stephen A. has a point here, right, about the NFL issuing a statement, because them issuing a statement is an acknowledgement that the people that are upset about this actually matter, right? That people give a damn about their opinions, and they shouldn't have said anything at all, because they would never say anything at all about any other celebration So why say anything about this? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.